she saw this thing and actually printed it off, and it sits in my house, and it says, choose your hard. Yeah, it's hard getting up sometimes. It's hard going to work, but is it harder not having any money? What is the hard you want to choose today? And I see it every day before I walk out the door. It sticks with me, really helps, on those days or those times when you don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Because us contractors, it might be hot outside, it might be raining. What is the hard? What direction are you going to choose today?
Sometimes we optimize for what feels like the easiest or best thing to do in the span of a day or a week or a month time frame. If you zoom out to a year or 5 years or 10 years, it's like, actually, no, the easy thing is going to create hard later. The thing is you don't get to avoid hard. We try to tell ourselves we do, but you don't get to avoid it. You only get to choose it. Welcome back to another episode of the Cost of Doing Business podcast. We are actually out here in Utah today, and I have some of us, the SynkedUP team, with me today here behind the cameras. Alan and Eric and Etienne's also here with us on this little bit of a road trip. But thanks for making time out of your day, Nate. Appreciate it.
You bet. Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to hook up and have a conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And we're actually out here on one of your job sites.
Yes.
So it's my favorite actually to kind of like see what it is that you do. It's always enjoyable to meet the whole team, and since you get a better, for me, like visiting people, you get a better picture of what the business is like. So,
well, you can probably tell too the quality of work, scope of work, things like that.
What kind of things you get into? Yeah, absolutely. For everybody listening, give us a bit of an intro, yourself, your business, what your team size looks like, what kind of work you do, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. So, Nate Butler, Summit Ridge Landscape, and we currently have 7 employees. And our main focus is landscape construction. We don't do any maintenance. We do.
Have you never done maintenance?
Minimal.
Okay.
Like it's never been
so
a
it's
focus.
always been a construction.
Yeah, always been construction.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of hardscape. That's kind of our niche, I guess. We do hardscaping, and we do things that I feel like are hard because those are the fun things to do. Mm-hmm. The sprinklers, topsoil sods, easy. That's just a basic, but we like to get into where we have to think a little bit. We've got to come up with creative ways to solve problems. But our main focus is we want to have the client take their living space inside and take it right outside that back door.
Just blend them, blur the lines.
And so that's our main focus. We want that experience for them.
Yeah. And how long have you been in business?
So Summit Ridge Landscape, we started of 2019. I've been in the industry for 27 years.
Okay.
I've had a couple other companies that we've dealt with or that I've owned.
All in the same end,
other than I had a trucking company.
Okay.
And went and played up in the oil fields in North Dakota during the boom.
Really?
Spent about 5 years up there.
Okay.
Yep. So, just doing anything we could do for money.
Yeah.
Basically to provide for the family.
Okay.
So.
And what got you back into starting Summit Ridge?
I decided I needed to come home, and I had some good friends of mine that own a landscape company in Salt Lake that I'd worked for. I actually started in the business with their father.
Oh.
Right after I got married.
Okay.
Actually, about a year after I got married, kind of broke in, basically answering a newspaper ad. They were looking for a sprinkler repair guy. And we could get into this whole long story, but anyways, coming back from North Dakota, working there, I wanted to be home, but I also really got the taste of money and how it seemed that when you made more money, it made things a little bit easier, family-wise. I could just do one job and not have to, go to a job and come home and work again.
Yeah.
That's what I had done my whole life.
Uh-huh.
And
up until the 2019
up until North Dakota.
Okay.
Yeah, up until then.
Yeah.
And so came back, they hired me on as a subcontractor or my own business, I guess. And I spent a year up in Powder Mountain doing a house. We landscaped a house up there. And you're not familiar with that area probably, but it's up northern Utah, like northeast Utah.
Okay.
From here, it's about a 2-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive. And so after that, that's kind of when I started the Summit Ridge landscape. I thought, in consultation with them, they thought that's probably a good way to go.
Yeah.
There's plenty of work. Obviously, I had no idea about COVID coming, and so when COVID hit, like, it just took off, because people are obviously staying home. They wanted to put the money into their yards, and so we ended up just out where I live. We ended up doing a circle of houses. I think we did 4 houses in the circle, and from there it just kind of expanded. Growing up out here, word of mouth spread pretty quickly, and it kind of just snowballed from just your basic, sprinklers, topsoil, sod, a little bit of plants, to this kind of project where we get into the hardscaping. And I've always loved the fire features. Done a lot of those.
Did you have employees like when you started Summit again? Summit originally? Did you have employees from day one?
No employees. Nope.
Okay. At what point did you get your first employees in Summit Ridge?
I'll say the first official employees were probably 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So you were 3-4 years in?
Yep.
Okay.
And it was me. I'd have my kids come help me. I kind of went heavy on the equipment, so I didn't have to have the labor. So I focused more on that.
Okay.
And
was that intentional, or was it just because you weren't sure if you would have the work, or what?
Once I started listening to some podcasts, let me back up a little bit. So out here in this little valley I live, I feel like we're kind of secluded. And being in this industry, technology, I'm kind of old school. Like, I'm really old school, actually. And I didn't know any of the podcasting stuff existed in landscaping. So one day I was like, I'm tired of listening to music. I want something more to listen to while I'm working. So I searched landscape, and I found different, podcasts that had come on. And I don't have, like, my patience level isn't very good either. And so I'd hit
the crowd.
I'd hit one, and if I didn't like what they were saying, reading the heading.
In the first 30 seconds?
Yeah, I'd move on. And I kind of found one outside of the landscaping. It was a real estate podcast that this husband and wife out of California. And I really liked that because I felt like they helped with sales. They dealt with high-end clientele, kind of what I wanted, the direction I wanted to go. And so I listened to them a lot, and then from there, I just kind of progressed. In listening to one of those podcasts, and I can't remember which one it was, they talked about getting heavy on the equipment side versus having more labor, because the equipment doesn't call in sick. You don't have those variables. You don't have to do all the tax stuff with the equipment. And so I thought, I can operate equipment pretty good, so I can probably do most of what I need realistically with the equipment. And so that was my initial focus. Employees were part-time. Had a couple guys help part-time. Had one guy for a year, a little more than a year, full-time. No experience in landscaping. It was all in construction, so it was a lot of training, hands-on. But I've never not been out working on a job, other than starting this year about 4 months ago and trying to figure out how to make this transition.
Okay.
And
so you've not been full-time on the job this year? This
year is kind of the first time. I haven't been out every day coming to.
And what enabled you to do that? Was it just a simple decision and prioritizing how you spend your time, or was it because you made a key hire? Like, what enabled you to do that?
Probably hiring the guys that I hired.
Okay.
The group I call them like the finishing group, or the more detailed group. They came out of California looking for work, and they had experience in the hardscaping from their experience back there. And so when they came and looking for a job, I thought, well, this will marry pretty good because they have experience. So if I just lay it out, they can work on the job. They don't need me to babysit them because they know what they're doing. I don't have to do all the training. And so then from there, it kind of expanded into getting more guys. Not me looking for guys. It was guys coming to the job site. Do you have a job? And so this year we've had several bigger projects.
You actually had people stopping on your job sites asking for work?
Yes, that's how I got the crew that's on this job now, actually.
Goodness.
Is they came looking for work.
Was that the only time that's ever happened, or is that
years ago that would happen often?
That's pretty amazing.
You'd get guys that would stop by. And, hey, do you have work? And then it's, well, what's your experience? And then they would come and typically would just like maybe work half a day.
Sure.
And then you wouldn't see them the next day. They're gone, just out of here. I mean, I call them gypsies, really. They're just, kind of here one day and gone.
Gone the next, yeah.
And that realistically has been my biggest fear, because I get nervous about that. Because
your people leaving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, employees, good, bad, or indifferent, there's a lot of jumping going on. If someone offers them $1 more an hour, or offers them a truck or whatever it is.
Yeah, which is why culture and some of the other things are so important.
Yes.
Like the loyalty, building that I want to work here.
Yes.
As opposed to if the only thing you're making your decisions on is like $1 more an hour, then it's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's kind of been my big hesitation with having guys, honestly. Because I feel like
it's just like the fear of investing into them and then losing it.
Yeah, and then now it's me holding the bag again. How am I going to get all this stuff done?
Yeah.
Where it's just me.
So now that you have 7 employees, would you say something's changed, or you're just taking a gamble?
A gamble.
Okay.
100% gamble.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there anything that you're doing to try to lessen the gambling part, stack things in your favor? Like, is there anything that comes to...
Not really comes to mind.
Yeah.
I feel like, I do communicate with the guys quite a bit about it, trying to understand what their thought processes are. Hey, are you looking to work a long time? Are you looking to jump ship?
Like, what do you want?
Right.
Like, what is your goal?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can make a decision as to whether, I can make your goal happen in my company.
Yes.
Or it's not. And then then let's plan instead of just like, bam, you're not here.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it doing this too long to where guys are here one day, guys are gone the next day. And then you're just, I guess now I've got to figure out how to do all the work, finish jobs, things like that.
Yeah. But getting ahead of it and controlling the narrative is a whole lot better than just looking the other way and hoping it doesn't happen.
Right. Yes. And I think truthfully that's, communication.
Yeah.
Talking with the guys and hopefully they're honest with me, because I'm pretty honest. I'm a pretty open book. And I try to, hey, this is what we've got coming up. These are the jobs. I'm trying to stay ahead of you. Do all these things to keep them busy and keep them working.
Mm-hmm. Paint a vision.
Yeah. Yep.
What comes to mind when I ask the question of what's the most difficult challenge you've overcome in Summit Ridge?
I think the first thing that came to my mind thinking about that is simply starting Summit Ridge. Again, starting another business. And that goes back to my past owning 2 other companies.
Uh-huh.
And starting, in the landscape business, I'd go to work for a company, come home, grab a quick something, go back out to work, doing side jobs.
Your own side
My
jobs.
own side job, starting a business, and then the failure, and then it's like it sets everything back, right? With your family, now you're financially farther back than when you started because you've acquired things that you have to make payments on or things that you've bought that have taken from the family. And so with those experiences, it was nerve-wracking. It's like, do I really want to do this again? Start it, but also knowing at my age when I started it and knowing my skill set that I've also kind of maxed myself out in this industry. Doing it for so long, you know, I understood kind of what my top was. And if I wanted more than that, not necessarily money wise, but more time wise,
Yeah.
then I needed to start up again, started a company again. And in doing it, I told my wife, let's give it 5 years and let's see what happens. I figured that's enough time to whatever I buy, we can pay it off during the process, just use the work, just keep, you know, paying it off, and just see where it takes us. And we're starting, I guess, year 5 now. And so it's really good, actually. Like we've been very blessed. We haven't had to leave the valley. We haven't really had to do a lot of advertising. I haven't had to go search for work. It's kind of just come to us. So I feel like the experience of the other businesses now to this company, lessons learned, good, bad, and indifferent, has allowed me to probably have more success moving forward with Summit.
Yeah, I mean, the first time you do something takes a long time. The second time you do the same thing again, like in growing a business, I just talked to a guy this week that was like, I forget the exact time frame, but it was like years for the first one and months for the second one to get to the same place.
Yes.
It's incredible.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn so many things along the way. You know, I told my kids this multiple times, but every day I do something new that I've never done before in my whole life. And they think I'm crazy. But I'm like, trust me, it is, because everything is unique. Something's different. But, you know, with the business, you can't, like, you can try to mitigate, I guess, and help go forward, eliminate problems. But really, if you don't know what these problems are, how do you do it?
Yeah.
And it's these experiences that I've had that kind of help shape me trying not to make the same mistake again.
Yeah. And I think inaction or lack of focus is the killer of progress. What I'm trying to say is business is messy. There's fires burning every day. There's things that you have to fix and solve, and your employees or whatever.
Yes.
And without intentionality and discipline, what ends up happening is you become chief dumpster fire extinguisher.
Yes.
And when that happens, you lose focus, and then you're on a hamster wheel.
Right.
And no progress is being made. 5 years later, you look up and you're in the same place as you were last year. You know.
Yeah. Yep.
And it takes real discipline to laser focus. Like picture taking a magnifying glass, taking the sunlight, and then pointing it right on a certain spot on the paper to make it burst into flame. That's what it takes. If you don't ever direct that sunlight through the magnifying glass just right, it won't ever have any effect.
Right.
You know.
Yes.
So focus and like saying no to 9 problems that you could solve and fixing the one that's the most gives you the most leverage or gives you the most progress or whatever. That is it's key.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be, you know, there's days you get up and, you know, you think, okay, I'm going to get these. This is my focus today.
Yep.
And then 5 minutes into the day, now you've got emergencies. I mean, you got these problems, these issues that have now arisen that have taken all your focus off of what you thought you wanted to get done. And then before you know it, half the day's gone and you're like, oh, I still have to get this stuff done.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, now everything's chaotic.
Yeah, and stuff does happen.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you can graduate out of
for sure.
chaos or things happening out of your control, but are you just pulling the top off the green part off the weed, or are you pulling the root out?
Right.
And so many of us as owner-operators or small business owners, like, we just pull that stupid weed again and again and again and leave the root there.
Yeah.
You know?
I do know. Yep, I do know. It happens. Yep, and you're like, I'll get back to that later. And then it grows. Okay, I got to go deal with that.
Yeah.
Same thing again. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to know the correct formula.
It
you
is.
know, and
It
how do
is.
you manage and do these different things?
Yep. And we come up. We're amazing excuse creators to ourselves as to why we shouldn't fix it or why we shouldn't, deal with the root. I just keep pulling the wheel, whatever. Like we come up with all kinds of reasons for I don't know, taking the easy path. Yeah, taking what we think is the easy path.
Right. Right.
Or it's just not the right time, or like it's in some of those cases we can be our own worst enemy.
Yeah, I mean, I try to, in my head, tell myself, look, it's effort. I have to do it anyway, so am I going to put the effort in now?
Yep.
And just do it, or do it later, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at it like, am I going to put in the effort? And then I always ask myself, am I just being lazy?
Yeah.
And not really, like I'm just, like you say, I'm just popping that top off of that weed and moving on, instead of really, I don't know, I do a lot of self analyzing, as I'm trying to learn, how this whole thing's gonna play out and the direction I want it to go and all of that.
So what comes up for you when I ask what the best advice is that you've ever been given? Was there a moment that somebody just dropped a random comment that really changed the way you think about something? Or was it something more in depth where a mentor or a podcast or whatever that changed the way you looked at something or approached your business or life? Like, what do you feel has been some really good advice that has resonated with you?
So I've got two, Weston. The first one is a motto that I learned back in high school, believe it or not, years ago. And it was on our football helmets, and it was hard work pays off. And that was on the front of our helmets, and that's been my kind of my drive, I guess, my guide. That I feel like no matter what happens, if I just work hard, good, bad, or indifferent, I'll get a result. And so I've kind of lived by that. I've had my kids, I tell them all the time, hard work pays off. And the other one, most recently, which has probably been within the last 3 years, maybe 3 years ago even, my wife came to me and no, you don't know obviously our whole backstory, and this would be hours if I told you. But she saw this thing, and I actually printed it off, and it sits in my house, and it says, "Choose your hard." And I look at it every day, and it's hard getting up sometimes. It's hard going to work, but is it harder not having any money? What is the hard you want to choose today? And I see it every day before I walk out the door. And that sticks with me, really helps, on those days or those times when you don't want to do anything. Yeah. Because us contractors, it might be hot outside, it might be raining. Where we live, we get snow sometimes, and it's like, what is the hard? What direction are you going to choose today?
Yeah.
So
it's that one is so it's profound, because I agree. That's one of my favorites. It's the choose your hard thing.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's like sometimes we optimize for what feels like the easiest or best thing to do in the span of a day or a week or a month time frame. But if you zoom out to a year or 5 years or 10 years, it's like, actually, no, the easy thing is going to create hard later.
Yeah.
And the thing is you don't get to avoid hard.
You don't.
And we try to tell ourselves we do.
Yeah.
I'll just do the easy. I'll just do the easy thing. Again and again. We try to tell ourselves we do, but you don't get to avoid it. You only get to choose it.
Yes.
Which is which is, I mean, keep bringing it down super practical in a SynkedUP example is when people sign on with SynkedUP, one of the things is like changing behavior about, getting a proposal out the door to the customer. Like, I'm not going to do it the way I used to do it. I'm going to do it this new way. But that takes work and effort. I have to build templates, and I don't have production rates. It's like, that's hard. Yeah, sure, it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue that. It is. Do you want that hard, or do you want the other one? The other one meaning like only you can ever do proposals. It's always going to take you hours, or you use oversimplified methods, to make it be quick, but then it's not as accurate. All of those things.
Yes.
Ultimately, it's like, choose your hard.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
And I mean, I'll take it right to SynkedUP because when I first signed on, I knew about I knew of another company that did the kind of the same.
Sure.
And so when I first signed on, in my mind, Wes, and I thought, who on earth is going to have their guys sit and punch on a phone? I'm working in this work area for 10 minutes. I'm going to switch to this work area for an hour. Like, in my head, that was the biggest waste of time because I'm old school. Like, I would have never thought, if we spend a couple weeks doing that, how much easier it would make life, months down the road. Because going back to what you just said with the estimating, now But, in my head, I just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
I thought, how do you do that? And of course, when I first signed up too, I didn't have employees. It was me.
Yeah.
And so for me to, I'm working on this sprinkler system. How long does it take me per valve? And then, did I remember to switch over to now I'm, doing another activity on the job site? And I'm not good at that. I'm not.
Well, the good news is we just rolled out a new version for the time tracking that makes it a whole lot easier.
Oh, good, good. I like that. Easy to me is the best.
Yeah, doesn't mean it's kind of keying off the choose your hard thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that we don't stop pursuing optimizing.
Yes.
But it's still. Kind of a different oranges and apples, comparison.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, it is though, because realistically, at the end of the day, the bottom line that we're in business for is we want to make money.
Yeah, that's what it's for.
And I don't want to be out here if I'm not making money.
Yep.
No one does.
Nope.
And so if there's systems in place that take a little bit of effort on my end to get there, I really need to focus on that effort. Mm-hmm. So then I can grow a company.
Mm-hmm.
It just, it has to be that because like we talked about earlier, otherwise 5 years from now, you're still in the same spot.
Yep. Yeah, it's like why would you spend all that work and money and effort to build a road out of asphalt or concrete? It takes all summer to build the road, but then for the next 50 years, it's just, Otherwise, we're just going to keep driving down the same muddy two-track,
Yep. That is true.
It's a little bit like that. So you have multiple businesses under your belt and a lot of different experiences, but focusing on the Summit Ridge one, you're six-ish years in, or is this you're coming up with your fifth year?
We started basically, I'll say spring of 2020.
Okay, so you're
right
in
prior
your fifth
to COVID.
year.
Yeah, we're in our fifth year.
What is one thing you would do differently 5 years in? What is one thing you would do differently if you could go back to that first year?
I think going back to the first year, probably the first thing I would do is realistically set up or utilize a system from day one, synced up, that style of system. So then I could time track. So then I could start understanding how much things really cost instead of, a sprinkler valve is X amount of dollars because that's what people tell you it is. Not really understanding what it is. They just say it's, you should charge X for sprinkler valve or sod should be this. And never in my wildest dreams back then, I would have thought of thinking of any type of overhead. You know, how like I just go buy a trailer. Why would I think to put that anywhere in a budget or anything? You know, like it just never crossed my mind. And I think realistically that's because of this little bubble I lived in, and not knowing there's a world outside of here where people actually do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
And so I feel like that was something that if I would have started from the get-go, I wouldn't be behind, you know, the 8-ball, I guess, with that part of it.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier.
No.
It's like that's one of the things we tell ourselves that isn't actually true. Is like, oh, well, the time's not right, or it'll be easier when.
Right.
You know, those are all just our brain constructing reasons to not do the thing that needs done.
Yeah, I mean, this day and age, if I were starting over, the first two things I would do is get a SynkedUP, and then I would figure out and hire someone to deal with social media. Because that's the way of the advertising. Like that's how people are getting to know who you are. And I feel like this just, unfortunately for me, you know, I'm behind that 8-ball, but I feel like that would be the direction I would go.
And what would be the benefit? Like, if you had done that, what would you say? The reason I would is for X benefit, like today, or you know.
So over the past 5 years, 4.5 years into the 5th year, I've generated, I feel like a pretty good amount of gross income over this, like take the cumulative. And I feel like if I would have started with a system, I feel like I'd eliminate a lot of the roller coaster of your bank account looks really good today, and then Friday, it's really bad. And then you're trying to figure out, okay, I've got to get money from here because I got to buy these supplies. I've got to do payroll. I've got to do these different things. Versus, okay, if I put it all in when I give a bid, now I know what I need to charge, one, which is important, to cover the overhead, to cover the little things that I never, like say, never would have thought of. And so I can feel like I'm getting started on the right foot.
Yeah.
I just feel like any service-based business needs to have something to help with that.
With pricing.
Because otherwise, you're like I've heard in so many of your podcasts talking to other contractors, like you just don't know what things really cost. And I mean, as an example, I've had a client that we do some work for, and they're telling me that it's too expensive, you know, my man hourly rate. And I'm like, well, in my head, I'm like, I'm charging realistically half of what I should to cover my overhead. But obviously they wouldn't know that or understand it, but that's just, you know, in my head, I'm like, I probably should charge more. And why I don't really know. We just charge this rate because that's, like I say, what industry people have said that realistically probably had no idea either, you know.
Yeah, right. They don't.
No one knows.
Yeah, that's right. And that's, you know, I just got to get that jab in on the proposal process. Details kill deals.
Yeah.
You know, like the story I always tell to make that point is one time when I was working at Tassie Landscaping, I was a crew foreman, but I had this relationship with a past customer and said, hey, can you do this can you redo the front landscape for me? And so I was there for another thing. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll work up a bid for you. And I think it's like 15 grand or something like that, you know, and he was like, oh yeah, sounds great. And I had scratched it all up on paper, and I was kind of like with it. He was over there looking at my shoulders. Everything was all good.
Yeah.
The bottom number was good. Everything was good until he saw my X hours times hourly rate number. He was like, what? That's what you charge per hour? Like, we don't charge that. He was in another trade, like, you know, and it was just like, it was all good till he saw that. And I used that illustration, that story, to make the point of, like, details kill deals. You present proposals in the ways that a customer can get to say yes or no to options or whatever that actually are the decisions they get to make. They don't get to
Yes.
decide what your hourly rate is.
Yes.
So why is that even in there?
Yeah,
You
right.
know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had. I'll give you a quick example of this. A few years ago, I had a job we were bidding, and I typed up the proposal, sent it over. Well, on the bottom of that, I had cleanup, and the guy immediately, why are you charging me to clean up? Isn't that just a standard practice? You know. And in my head, he's exactly right. Like it is
Yeah.
just standard. Like I can't even tell you how much man hours I spend cleaning these jobs.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But in my head, I thought, well, I'm putting it in the bid, so I want to have it accounted for these hours, not thinking that, oh, he'll see that.
And then be like, well, you should just do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, we didn't get the job
Yeah.
because of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he was so
Hung up.
upset on me having that cleanup and then these hours, you know, where like when I charge, like, cause we charge mobilization
Yep.
to get to a job, and I show that on every bid. And I've had people question it. I say, look, it costs me to get my stuff to your job. No, and they understand it. But showing that, no problems. But just the cleanup.
And it's just the presentation of the same facts
Yes.
that did it.
Yes.
You know, if you'd have been like, take that number, I don't care if it's 10 grand, take that number and just roll it up into what it is you were doing.
Yep.
That number's just higher and the cleanup's not even like worded.
Not even there.
It's not even there. No issue.
Yep. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But it was a lesson learned for me.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
now that's what we do. We figure out the hours and we just tie it into something else.
Yeah.
But I know it's there on my end.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an experience.
These
for
are
sure.
these are the lessons, man. These are
Yes.
and we hear these things. I'm sure there's people going to hear this on the podcast and all that. But until you get burned yourself,
Yep.
until you touch that hot stove yourself, it just is like, yeah, but I'm different. you know?
Yeah. It won't happen to me for sure. Yeah.
Well, hey, Nate, thanks a lot for making time. Really good conversation, and appreciate you the stories that you're sharing. Where can people find you, get in touch with you, or website or social media or anything like that?
Social media is just Summit Ridge Landscape.
Okay.
And website is summitridgelandscapeutah.com.
Okay. Right on.
And it's all there, and we're growing it, and see if we can continue this fun stuff.
Well, thanks for hosting us,
thank
man.
you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome.
You betcha.